Story number 1. The Babysitter's Nightmare. Lisa adjusted her jacket as she stepped onto the grand front porch of the Holloway's mansion. It was an old but elegant house in Lake Forest, Illinois, nestled between towering trees and a long, quiet driveway. Mrs. Holloway greeted her warmly, handing her $60 upfront. "We should be home by 1 a.m., she said, adjusting her pearl necklace. "The kids are already asleep, so you won't have to do much." Lisa nodded. "Easy money." Mr. Holloway hesitated before stepping out. "One more thing," he said. "If the house phone rings, just ignore it." Lisa frowned. "Why?" Mrs. Holloway forced a smile. "It's been happening for a few nights now, just weird calls. But don't worry, it's nothing serious." Lisa shrugged. "Got it." The Holloways left, and Lisa locked the door behind them. She settled on the massive leather couch, scrolling through her phone while the grandfather clock ticked in the background. The house was too quiet. Then, ring, ring. Lisa glanced at the house phone on the wall. She ignored it. Ring, ring. Her fingers twitched. It's probably just a telemarketer. But the ringing didn't stop. Ring, ring. Sighing, she picked up the receiver. "Have you checked on the children?" The voice was low, raspy, and almost inhuman. Lisa's heart thumped. "Who is this?" she snapped. Click. The line went dead. She shivered. Just a prank, right? Still, she double-checked the locks on the front and back doors, peeking out into the empty, foggy yard. Nothing. A chill ran down her spine as she turned back inside. Ring, ring. Lisa hesitated before answering. "Lisa," the voice whispered. Her stomach twisted. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Have you checked on the children?" Lisa's breath caught in her throat. Her gaze darted toward the staircase leading to the kids' room. Slowly, she climbed the steps, her pulse pounding. She pushed open the door. Ethan, 8, and Sophie, 6, were sitting straight up in their beds, eyes wide, faces pale. Lisa forced a smile. "Hey guys, did you hear the phone ring?" Neither answered. Then, Sophie whispered, "He's already inside." Lisa's blood ran ice cold. "What?" she breathed. Ethan pointed behind her. Lisa spun around. Nothing was there, but the house felt different, as if the air had thickened. Her phone had no signal. Panicked, she grabbed the house phone. "You shouldn't have turned around." Lisa screamed and dropped the receiver. The lights flickered, the walls seeming to close in. The front door wouldn't budge. She yanked at it, but the locks wouldn't turn. A floorboard creaked behind her. Heart hammering, she turned slowly, and there, standing at the end of the hallway, was a tall, shadowy figure. His face was grinning, stretched unnaturally wide. Lisa's legs locked in place, her breath frozen in her chest. The shadow tilted its head. Then it moved. The thing lunged forward, its grin splitting wider. Lisa sprinted up the stairs, heart pounding. She yanked open the kids' room door and slammed it behind her, locking it. Ethan and Sophie were still in their beds, shaking. It's okay," Lisa stammered, though her hands trembled. "I won't let anything happen to you." Then, a soft tap at the door. Tap, tap, tap. Lisa held her breath. Then came the whisper, "Lisa, let me in." Tears burned her eyes. "No, no, no." The doorknob twisted slowly. She grabbed a lamp, preparing to fight. Then, silence. After a long, agonizing moment, Lisa crept toward the door. She pressed her ear against it. Nothing. Hands shaking, she turned the lock and peeked into the hallway. It was empty. The house phone sat on the table, receiver off the hook. The clock ticked softly. Had she imagined it? Lisa turned back toward the kids, but the beds were empty. Her stomach dropped. "Ethan? Sophie?" No answer. The room was cold. The bedsheets were neatly made, as if no one had ever slept there. Then she saw it. A family portrait on the wall. It showed Mr. and Mrs. Holloway, smiling with their 2 kids. But instead of Ethan and Sophie, the children in the photo were strangers. Lisa's throat went dry. Her legs weakened. The house phone rang again. Her trembling fingers reached for it. She lifted it to her ear. "Lisa, you shouldn't have turned around." Everything went black. Mr. and Mrs. Holloway pulled into the driveway. The house was silent. Inside, the babysitter was gone. The kids were tucked in bed, fast asleep. But on the living room floor, by the still ringing phone, was a bloody handprint. And in the hallway mirror, a faint grinning reflection watched them, waiting. The end. Story number 2. The Man in the Vents. The Parker family had just moved into their new home in Denver, Colorado. A beautiful 2-story house in a quiet neighborhood. Mark and Julia Parker, along with their 10-year-old son Eli, were excited for a fresh start. But from the very first night, something felt off. As Julia unpacked boxes in the living room, she heard scratching noises coming from the air vents. Screech, scratch, tap, tap. She assumed it was rats or squirrels. "Mark, I think we need to call pest control," she called. Mark frowned. "I'll check tomorrow." But later that night, as they lay in bed, the noises returned. Closer this time. A long, slow scraping sound echoed through the vents, like fingernails dragging across metal. Then a faint whisper. "Eli, Eli." Julia bolted upright. "Did you hear that?" Mark, half asleep, mumbled, "It's just the house settling." But Julia didn't sleep that night. At breakfast, Eli sat quietly, picking at his food. "You okay, bud?" Mark asked. Eli nodded. "Yeah, I just made a new friend." Mark and Julia exchanged a glance. "A friend?" Julia asked. "Who?" Eli hesitated. "The man in the vents." The room went dead silent. Mark laughed nervously. "You mean like an imaginary friend?" Eli shrugged. "I don't know. He talks to me at night." Julia felt a chill run down her spine. "What does he say?" she asked. Eli stared at her, his expression blank. "He says he used to live here, and he never left." By the 4th night, Julia couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. That's when she noticed it. A strong, putrid smell wafting from the air vents. Rotten meat. Mark finally climbed into the attic to check. He aimed his flashlight into the dark metal tunnels of the air ducts. Dust swirled in the stale air. First, nothing seemed unusual. Then, something moved. A shadow darted deeper into the vent. Mark's blood ran cold. What the hell? He aimed the flashlight further and saw a pair of eyes staring back at him. White, unblinking, too human. Mark screamed and scrambled down the attic ladder, slamming the hatch shut. "We're leaving. Tonight," he panted. But it was already too late. Julia woke up to the sound of the vent cover rattling. She sat up, heart pounding. Mark was asleep beside her. Then she noticed Eli's bed was empty. "Eli?" she whispered. No answer. Then, a voice from the air vent. "He's with me now," Julia screamed. She shook Mark awake. They tore through the house, searching every room. No Eli. The front door was still locked. The windows were shut. Then Mark spotted it. A vent cover hanging loose in Eli's room. A smear of blood on the wall beside it. Something had taken their son. The police searched the house from top to bottom. No forced entry. No signs of a struggle. The only clue, the security camera footage from the living room. At 3:14 a.m., Eli walked into the hallway, his eyes glassy and distant. He stopped in front of the air vent. Then, the grate slid open from the inside. A thin, pale hand reached out. Eli stepped forward willingly, and then the thing inside the vent pulled him in. The last frame of the footage showed the vent closing, as if nothing had ever happened. Eli was never seen again. The Parkers moved out, unable to stay in the house. But the next family who moved in also reported hearing whispers in the vents. And sometimes, late at night, a child's laughter echoes through the air ducts. But Eli is gone. Isn't he? The end. Story number 3. The Smiling Thing. Derek, 28, his girlfriend Emily, 26, and their friends Kevin, 29, and Lisa, 27, had rented a secluded cabin in the woods of Pennsylvania. No cell service, no neighbors, just peace and quiet. But by midnight, only one of them was left alive. and something was still out there watching. They had followed Google Maps, but the road was wrong. Instead of leading to the rental cabin, it took them deep into the forest, onto an unmarked dirt road. "Dude, I think we're lost," Kevin muttered from the passenger seat. Derek squinted at the fading daylight. "It should be just up ahead." Then, out of nowhere, a deer ran into the road. Derek swerved, tires skidding on loose gravel. Bam! The car smashed into a tree. Silence. Emily groaned, rubbing her head. "Jesus, are we okay?" The car was wrecked. No cell service. No way to call for help. Lisa pointed down the road. "There's a house up ahead." A small, dark cabin stood in the trees. No lights, no signs of life, but they had no choice. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air was stale, thick with the scent of rotting wood. Old furniture, dusty floors. No power. A rotting deer carcass lay in the back room, its body half-eaten. "That's disgusting," Lisa gagged. But then Kevin pointed at the wall. Carved into the wood, over and over, were 3 words. "Don't look outside." The group fell silent. A gust of wind howled through the trees. The sun was setting. And then, a soft knock at the front door. Tap, tap, tap. They froze. "Maybe someone lives here," Emily whispered. Derek slowly moved to the door and peered through the peephole. But there was nothing there, just darkness. Then, a face slammed against the peephole. Smiling, Derek stumbled back, heart hammering. "There's someone out there." The knocking turned into pounding. Then silence. Lisa whispered, "Maybe it's gone?" Then they heard it. From the window behind them, soft breathing. Someone or something was staring at them from the dark. Smiling, they barricaded the doors and windows, but by 2 a.m., the knocking started again. Then came the laughter. Low, distorted, not human. Kevin whispered, "It's just screwing with us." Derek checked his watch. 2:33 a.m. A single note slipped under the door. Scrawled in crimson ink or blood was a single message. "If you see it, smile. It's already too late." Emily's voice shook. "What the hell does that mean?" Then, a loud crash from the bedroom. The window had been shattered from the inside. Lisa was gone. By sunrise, Kevin and Emily wanted to run for it. Derek wasn't so sure. "We don't even know where we are." Then Emily turned pale. "Where's Kevin?" He had been standing right beside them. Now he was gone. The bedroom door creaked open. Inside, Kevin stood in the corner, his back turned to them. Emily sighed in relief. "Kevin, thank God. We need to." Then he turned around. His face was wrong. His mouth stretched too wide. His eyes were empty, and he was smiling. Then, in a voice not his own, he whispered, "If you see it, smile. It's already too late." Kevin lunged. Derek and Emily ran. Emily didn't make it. Now Derek was alone. The forest was too quiet. The cabin was empty. The thing outside had stopped knocking. Now it was inside. Somewhere. Hiding. Smiling. Derek gripped the knife in his shaking hands. He wouldn't let it take him. Then, a whisper right behind him. "Why are you scared?" A hand touched his shoulder. Derek turned, and it smiled. When police found the cabin, they discovered 4 things. The wrecked car, abandoned. A trail of bloody footprints leading into the woods, but none leading out. A single note pinned to the cabin wall. "If you see it, smile. It's already too late." Derek's body, sitting in a chair, grinning ear to ear. His jaw was broken, as if someone had forced him to smile. The end. Story number 4. The Whispers in Room. Adam pulled his car into the gravel lot of Blackwood Motel, a rundown roadside inn on the outskirts of Charleston, West Virginia. He had been driving for 10 hours straight and needed sleep. The place looked abandoned. Only one flickering neon sign buzzed. Vacancy. Inside, the receptionist, an old man with hollow eyes, barely looked up as Adam handed over his credit card. "Room 6, the old man muttered. Adam signed the receipt. "Busy night." The old man stiffened. "You're the only guest." Adam frowned. "Then why give me room 6? The old man's eyes darkened. That's the only one left. Something about the way he said it made Adam shudder. The room was filthy. The wallpaper peeled. The TV flickered with static. The air smelled of mildew and something rotten. Adam collapsed onto the creaky bed, exhausted. Then, the whispering began, soft, just beyond the walls. "Help me!" Adam sat up, heart pounding. Was someone in the next room? He pressed his ear to the wall. Silence. He shook his head. "I'm just overtired." But as he lay back down, the bathroom door creaked open. Adam froze. The bathroom door had been closed. Now it stood wide open. A slow, steady tapping echoed from the darkness inside. Tap, tap, tap. Adam grabbed his phone, using the flashlight to peek inside. The bathroom was empty, but the mirror, it was fogged up, as if someone had just taken a shower. A single word was written across the glass. "Run." Adam's blood ran cold. Then, the motel phone rang. Adam grabbed the receiver with shaking hands. "Hello." A woman's voice, whispering, "You need to leave." His breath caught. "Who is this?" "He's coming." Click. The line went dead. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently. The old TV burst into static, its speakers crackling with a deep, guttural voice. "You should have stayed asleep." Then, the closet door creaked open. Adam's pulse pounded. Something moved inside the closet, a shadow shifting against the dim light. A pair of long, bony fingers gripped